Hello guys, you alright? This is one of them stories that it makes you contemplate all the different angles. I've never known a story be so mentally brutal. The sensationalistic headline and then everything you read going down. The headline does actually do this story justice for once. Now the headline is Telford abuse victim was raped by 500 men from 11. But cops chose to prosecute her. Now, when you read into this, there's so many failings, there's so much neglect that has gone on just with this one individual. Never mind the rest of the girls in Telford and within the other regions around the country that are suffering with this. I mean, this lady from 11, she's been subjected to gang rape by multiple people in a uniform. She's been discovered by police miles away from a house in a car with a strange man in the middle of the night with a uniform on. And when she's told the police officers where she actually presides, which was Telford at that time, there was no questions asked. What it appears is that this lady left school at a very early age and has ended up in the hands of what you would regard as a pimp. She's been gang raped multiple times by multiple people, and not one person has been brought forward for it. Not one person has been prosecuted. Because this lady has resorted to what you would regard as a profession of being a prostitute, but you could argue that this was a profession that I'm sure the lady did not choose. I'm sure the options of her life was very narrow, and I'm sure the hold of this pimp was such where the exploitation just carried on from 11. But yet, because this lady had the profession as what is regarded as a common prostitute, when she relayed the abuse whilst being a so-called prostitute, you had policemen that would say that you're nothing but a common prostitute, and don't you think that that comes with the job? Beating, rape, i.e. abuse and exploitation. On another occasion, at aged 17, she went back to the police to report what had happened historically, and she was told, have a good think of how you would look in court. Have a good think of how you would look in court. Is that the policeman talking in a professional capacity? Or is that the policeman talking as a human being? This is where it gets me thinking. Is this a societal problem or is this an institutional problem? It is hard for me to work out the percentage rate at this point because I've got to attribute some percent to both elements. Now, this stems from the 80s when the lady in question, in this article, referred to the lady as Jennifer, but I'm sure that's not a real name. She was aged 11 in the 80s. I think she had 10 years of this in Telford within itself, obviously living in another part of the country, then reporting the abuse, only to find that a trafficker was held for 4 months on gang rape, but the case collapsed. So it gets you thinking, the amount of complicit behaviour and the amount of people that are neglecting people like this. This is only one story, but I think the story is that gruesome. This should justify an inquiry all on its own. Within every sector that had an opportunity to help someone like this. I mean, I'll even go further. Is this, in some ways, on a percentage scale, a societal problem just as much as it is an institutional, an establishment problem? What I mean by that is that what comes through with this story, there was failings from a mother, because a mother seemed to fall in the same trap as what the police officers did, assuming because she was a sex worker that it was of her own volition. Any aggression is down to you, and because you're a sex worker, you're not going to be believed by a jury of 12 of your peers. Now, to me, that spells that there's neglect there from society as well as institutions that could help. This is such a sad story, and it makes me feel that you've got organisations like PAG and you've got other paedophile squads that are jumping up all round the country. But you do feel that they're chasing the tail. Because if you've got systematic failings and complicit behaviour like this, and to a certain degree you've got social issues that society needs to get hold of as well, it almost feels like it's one step forward, 3 steps back. You do feel that this will never ever stop. You've got to keep pushing on, you've got to keep helping survivors to let them know that there are people there for them. This lady, considering that she was raped by up to 500 men from the age of 11, beaten on many of them occasions, through her life, this lady has ended up with 52 convictions, whilst the 500 men, not one of them have been brought to task. Is that the country you want to live in? Is that the judiciary? Is that the care system? Is that the police force that you want looking after your children? With a judiciary that is literally can't keep up with itself, with a media that is so sluggish on reporting this, you do despair. So I'd like to thank Billy Howarth from PAG UK, 1 for the link, and 2 also for caring, where it seems, in some cases, the institutions, society, is turned a blind eye.